Teddy, Fiona and Maliki disappeared. Whatever happened that night is still important to someone. The story is right here. We just have to find it.
Guys.
Have you ever listened to a podcast where they actually solve it? I need diversions, red herrings, human interest, the stuff that people actually care about. All right? Without audio, it's all pointless.
Guys.
What?
Where's Sean?
Yeah, I think Emmy quite literally kind of takes I think you say something like use your initiative, and she thinks she is using her initiative to get this file, and then when he's angry with her, she's like, what do you mean? I'm just doing what you said, which is, yeah. And then she really looks up to Dove's investigative journalism career, and I think she's also kind of looking at Dove and taking note of what she does and says, and that kind of, makes her journey.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the first times that Dove
kind of
sees something in Emmy.
Yes.
That, I think she'd sort of underestimated her previously. Yeah. And to see that she's kind of willing to break a few rules and push the boundaries, I think that catches Dove's attention for sure. Gilbert doesn't approve.
And there's, I reluctantly go along because I see progress.
Yeah. I think she is really intuitive. I think she's really astute, and she's just really good at her job. I think what can kind of be a bit scary about Dove sometimes is that she's very good at manipulating people, and she does it with these two in, I think, quite dangerous ways when she uses their deepest insecurities against them to get them to do what she wants. And whether she might not seem like it, but she is kind of a people person in that she can read people very well. So I think what she sees in Teddy is an opportunity, and I think she exploits his sort of gentle character and gets what she wants, as she tends to do.
Now, I remember when I was watching watching you do that performance, which obviously was amazing.
Stunning, yeah.
I remembered thinking, obviously, it is manipulative and yes, you are exploiting him. But then there was a little part of me that was like,
maybe it's
that's a little piece of you in there too. That
I think it is a true
good
story.
person coming out.
Yeah.
Like that. Like there is. I felt like there was like a little of you who was empathetic with him. Also,
I think so too, and I think I'd say that story is actually true. I don't even believe that she did make it up. I'd say that could very well be a true story. But the fact that to you guys, she said, like, "Oh no, I made that up," but she's choosing to share what bits of her that she knows it will be most useful in the given scenario.
Yeah. So yeah, she discovers that he saw a monster coming out of the bog on the night of Samhain, and she's like just thinking about what could that possibly be? Is it just a story, or is it something more? And then she starts investigating, and she gets to find the answers.
I mean, he's just he gets all this information that he's blown away by, and trying to piece it all together, and because Gilbert keeps getting this information. I think he assembles the story of what he thinks is happening in his head, and then it keeps getting blown up by new information, and then he reassembles. So he's just like, keeps having to shift his own narrative.
Yeah, I think she's had this hunch about Seamus. She believes that he is really the crux of the case, and I think finding that and finding the ring and the photographs kind of proves that she's right, and it just leads her further down that trail. Yeah.
I
They
mean, yeah,
did a great
yeah,
job with those
it's-
mannequins.
They were spooky.
They were really
disgusting.
spooky. They were
we
really
were
spooky.
we were in Wicklow, I believe,
Yeah.
for that.
Yep.
Yeah. Me and Will were probably having a great time, but
She had to
Shiv
get
was
into
like-
the water.
That was just a pond. That was just a pond that they found in Wicklow. Of course, there was all the necessary safety people there, and it was just a pond. It wasn't that cold. It wasn't that cold, to be honest. I've been in colder, but yeah, it was just mucky, smelly Wicklow pond water.
I mean, that's one where I remember hearing them talk about it, and it's like, all right. I mean, if you learn to trust these guys because they wrote great scripts and they made smart decisions pretty much the whole way through. So I remember hearing that. I'm down to try anything, but I remembered thinking, okay, let's see what it is. And then instantly, while we were doing it, it just made sense in my brain from the very beginning. And David Wilmot is just a amazing actor. Just like these two, he can make anything work, and the way he plays it, it makes it seem so normal. It's just this very weird thing which just seems to work. It's like it really was a very awesome scene to be a part of.
It's so gorgeous and so unexpected.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
kind of the beginning of you guys then go off and basically have a road trip
yeah,
movie.
that's so true.
Yeah.
Like it's such a gorgeous scene.
Yeah.
That's my favorite scene in the show.
It is a very uncomfortable position that Gilbert is in, because he's now concerned with so many different things. Where there's this podcast that's going on. He's concerned about his safety. He's concerned about everybody's safety, and it's just a weird place to be in. And he's not particularly a person who's a very good actor or liar, like the person who portrays him. And so yeah, it's just a series of scenes which are really fun to play, because he's constantly gotta walk a very thin line, very thin tightrope.
So you're saying you're not the most honest person, Will, and you had to tap into your
I meant the
honesty.
acting part more than the. I'm not a good liar. Is what I meant. Yeah, I'm a pretty good liar. Hey,
He's
you guys
lying.
did such great jobs. Such great jobs.
Yeah, actually, that was a great scene to film in the pub when Dove gets very drunk and confronts Power. That was a lot of fun. I think Power kind of represents a certain type of person for Dove, that she just smells a rat from the get-go with him, doesn't trust him as far as she could throw him, and really lets loose on him then in the pub, and causes him to have a heart attack, which wasn't her intention, but I don't think she's too fussed about either. So yeah, from the get-go, Dove and Power were they weren't gonna hit it off.
I mean, it's huge for her to make that discovery. She feels like she's like, guys, I'm pretty close to solving this. I can do this. And she goes to them with that kind of evidence and realizes that Dove they kind of know parts of it already. And she's like, wait, what? But it was really cool to film. I mean, the bodies were so interesting and kind of just, so like delicately made. It was insane. Like, yeah, they were so great. It was. I loved filming that scene. It was really cool.
I mean, Dove's whole world is blown open. She takes mushrooms and essentially probably goes through 10 years worth of therapy in 10 minutes, and learns a lot about what she's kind of been burying about her childhood and has to confront that in quite a violent way. So yeah, for Dove it's kind of earth-shattering.
Emmy discovers such a big thing that episode. She discovers that Mrs. O'Shea was on the island. She actually connects all the dots to Sean, so she makes a huge discovery, which is great for her. Like, she's just, oh yeah, it's great for her.
Gilbert gets very lucky that he's in the right place at the right time, stumbles onto this. Yeah, I mean, it is. She's been caught in this lie, and Teddy this whole time has gone through life thinking this set of facts were correct when they weren't, just and she was one of the people keeping the truth from him. So he finally has I think Gilbert feels some compassion for him and wants to help him get the truth. Yeah, I mean, he's also just freshly coming from meeting with his wife, and did not go well. So I think he's like, F it. Yeah, I mean, Gilbert, for the last several episodes is in that the place with Seamus, where he's alternately scared of him and also feeling a real bond with him, and it does end very badly for him, and I think he knew all along that was probably how it was going to happen, but just didn't want to believe it. I remember all the thought that went into thinking about the recorder being shoved into my mouth, and I was so scared that it was going to knock my teeth out. And I just, so much mental space went into make sure my teeth don't get knocked out, just as he's doing. I don't know. And then of course they had a way to do it that was very safe, but
it looks really,
it looks so good,
violent and gross.
It looks, Yeah, we did, I don't know how many exactly, but it was definitely at least a week, if not more, right, of night shoots. It was really cool to do that. I kind of felt like I was in an action film, and I was just there jumping, pushing through people. And all these costumes as well are so cool and kind of creepy and eerie, and yes, just run through them was so cool. And then getting on the tractor and just screaming at these sea of people was just, I felt like a rock star. That was very cool.
I think that scene is really interesting because it's really a meeting of minds, and whether she cares to admit it or not, they are kind of kindred spirits. I think she sees herself a lot in Seamus, and he probably recognises himself in her. So that scene, I think, is really a really interesting one, where she kind of levels with them and says, look, you want to blow up the world? Go ahead. I don't give a shit. And it's a tactic she's using, but it's kind of also the truth. It's a great sort of negotiating scene from Dove. You kind of see her at her best there, I think, and it's also just a joy to get to shoot a scene like that with Dave Wilmot, who's an incredible actor, and in a location like that in the Cove, and it's all dramatically lit, and it was a really special one.